got a better idea.
You must bounce on it.
Hello, audience. For once, I'm not reviewing a movie that came out 50 years ago. Instead, it's a remake of a movie that came out 100 years ago. Ooh. Call me fucking Jeremy Johnson or Chris Stuck-It-In-A-Man. Well, maybe I don't want to be like them. Anyway, I saw Robert Eggers' new Nosferatu. I was waiting all year to see it, and luckily I avoided most of the trailers to go in fresh. Good thing I didn't find out Dracula was in the movie. But today, I would like to announce that I have a very special guest. Friend of the channel, Derby Moleman. Look, why don't you introduce yourself, what you do, you know, what's your profession, what's your, you know...
I work at GameStop.
He works at GameStop. He's got a huge fucking neck.
I got a Gamecock.
Copy that. That's what he always says. Copy that. Remember that? Remember when you'd say
I remember that.
So for the rest of the video, I'll be intercutting sections with this very insightful interview.
What's his name? Will Ferrell.
Pharrell Williams?
I'm blanking on Willem Dafoe. It's because it wasn't.
Oh, you know, yeah, The Lighthouse.
You're fond of me.
You know.
Classic role by Will Ferrell. He should have won an Oscar for that role. Did he?
Did he?
Did he part 3 on Tubi? So, of course, what sold me on the movie was the director. I'm a pretty big egghead for sure. The Witch and the Lighthouse are absolutely fantastic. I think everyone knows this. They're very original movies. I mean, where else can you watch Anya Taylor-Joy fight a goat for an hour, or 2 superstar actors wrestle and fart on each other? Then it got to The Northman, and I got to see that one in theaters actually, and I thought it was a really good movie, but just not my thing. Don't get me wrong, I definitely enjoyed it, just more out of the appreciation of the filmmaking over the story. I loved all the weird egg-like choices and visuals in the movie. That one siege scene in particular is absolutely incredible, but it's just fucking Hamlet with Vikings. I'm more into horror than Viking adventures, so of course I was excited for him to make another big original horror picture. Then it turned out to just be fucking Dracula again. The movie retells the important lesson that you should never, and I mean never, sell real estate to Dracula.
I got it. Let's get naked.
No, let's save that for when we're selling real estate.
It's taking multiple elements from the 1920s film, the original novel, and some completely original aspects. It keeps the rip-off names from the original German film, where they changed character names like John and Mina Harper to Tom and Ellen Hutter, and it brings in other characters from the novel, like Mina's friend and the classic new vampire hunter, Man Shelsing.
Who?
So it's a bit of a cosmic gumbo, really. It's clear the Eggman just took a bunch of different parts of Dracula lore, then blended them together for his own adaptation, which I think is a fine way to do it.
Yeah, Ryan and I would joke on set about it being a cosmic gumbo.
Though I personally always found the Dracula narrative, at least in the adaptations I've seen, to be kind of weak. I watch for that spooky gothic look and for Drac to be creeping around. But I never could connect with boring-ass John Hutter and his sad, sad wife. I've always found the narrative of Frankenstein to be much more engrossing. Inventor attempts to resurrect life and shit goes awry. Far more relatable. But still, its value lay in its visuals, and it's undeniable that Dracula adaptations are often visually remarkable. And this, of course, rings especially true for this film.
There was so much in this movie. I like the saying, "Eat your heart out, sardines."
Oh, okay. Like
yeah, because like
the,
you know,
they're fish.
You're right.
Because he smells like fish.
Lily Rose Depp probably smelled like fish in the morning. I think that's
Oh,
how everyone like pee. Now this may be hard to tell since I'm getting all my footage from a cam rip with gambling ads all over the screen, but trust me when I say, this movie is an all-you-can-eat buffet of amazing shots. Every scene could be a background to one of my Sigma Wolf edits. There's expressionistic architecture. The camera floats around Orlok's castle like a ghost. In fact, the entire section with the castle is fantastic. A ghost carriage pulls up and swerves into an impossible 90-degree angle. You floating in? Truly a moral quandary for the ages. Then, in the second half, you get all the gloomy shots of the infected city, witnessing the growing despair hidden in the background. I haven't seen such great rat shots since Ratatouille, made more than a fortnight ago. Achieved with both practical and digital effects.
You know, I like how movies are made. Favorite channel, Corridor Crew.
Yeah.
YouTube.com. And so I'm not, a blind CGI's bad guy, because those people are stupid. They don't understand anything.
Exactly.
And so I was really interested to know how the movie was made. And I saw an interview, and the guy was like, "How did you practically do the hand flying over the city and the ghost Nosferatu in the curtains?"
That was a video game, man. We just took footage from the Dracula video game. That was from Logan's Castle, man.
Robert Eggers is like, we achieved the city digitally. We didn't have a miles long city replica of 1838.
No, you
Germany.
just went to Germany and it was there. That's what
And it was
Germany
still
looks
there.
like. Now you must be asking with the mise-en-scène. What about the mise-en-scène, John? You went to college, didn't you, Jonathan? Of course, as usual, for Eggers, the costume and set dressing is phenomenal. The interiors have that lavish furniture, but is uniquely shot to look almost modern. Really, it effectively translates the disconnection between New World Germany and Old World Transylvania. The mystic old world where their culture is seen as scary and brutalist. The scene where Hutter first arrives at Transylvania is perfect. All the odd and unwelcoming extras who are laughing at Hutter for reasons he has no way of understanding.
Fill her up, please.
What'll it be, fellas? Mustard or ketchup?
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
Then this old world voodoo literally infects Germany, which had previously become rooted in science and repressed emotion. This is all enhanced by Rob's attention to detail.
Like I think we talked about this after the movie, where during the film I was looking for light switches, like in somebody like, because I know they built these sets and nobody would be that stupid, but maybe they low-key
There's a
needed to
chance
charge,
that
like,
someone had like a jewel charging in the corner or something.
yeah, like they hired a
They,
bisexual bitch and nobody knew it was McDonald's and charged their phone.
Eggman's a real fucking geek, as we all know. Like, I fuck heavy with his movies, but if I, the testosterone-filled Chad that I am, saw him in high school studying over his notes of how gay sailors talk, I'd naturally pick him up, give him a turbo wedgie, and stuff him in my locker. You were like a Robert Eggers yourself. You spent like a couple of years in Germany just learning for this.
That guy's a nerd.
That
That guy's a
fucking
geek.
loser. Fucking geek, like.
Have you ever seen the clips
Just
of him where he's like,
follows.
if I had to talk about this shit, like, right?
And he's stuttering, man.
and
Like,
is-
it's like, oh, I need to have my costumes, period perfect. Shut up, dude. Just get Lily Rose Depp having 1,000 Caesars on screen and then it's good. So as I said, in the previous adaptations, I found the actual protagonist to be kind of dull. I haven't seen the Coppola film in quite a while, and maybe I'm wrong, but the movie looks fantastic, and there are some standout performances, but most of them not so much. And Mr. Keanu Reeves especially is downright awful in the movie.
I've seen many strange things already. Bloody wolves chasing me through some blue inferno.
Ah, don't be such a wanker. Life is all in your mind.
Again, Dracula's cool and Mr. Hutter drools. But I'm happy to report that this is not the case for the Robert Eggers film. Rob actually has added new depth, and Lily and Nicholas put in performances that make the Hutters legitimately compelling. The crux of the issue always came from Thomas fucking off on a business trip, leaving his wife to be creeped on by Drac. You kinda end up hating Hutter for it, and it's not hard to feel sympathy for Ellen, but she lacks her own strength and personality to be interesting, especially not in the 20s film nor in the 30s Bela Lugosi version. I hate to say it, but you're kinda like, really, Drac? You're obsessed with her? You could pull anyone with your huge mansion and other things, but you chose her? But in the film, they actually develop the characters. Ellen is shown to be an outsider to modern society, having beliefs which challenge the status quo. This contrast is shown against her friend Anna, whose family fits more into the traditional Christian household. This is also the crux of Tom's character, as the success of his buddy Fred hangs over him, feeling he must provide for his wife like they do. So we understand why he would go off to this remote village for the big job. But like most employers, Hard Knocks is secretly a Satan worshiper who eats the heads of rats and birds like Ozzy Osbourne. So yeah, there was an old lady sitting to the right of Luke in the theater, and she was not really prepared to watch a movie with such gore and violence and sex, I think. So
Can
I
you
think
get her on call?
that's important. Do we have her number? Is she still kicking? Did she go under? Did she croak? Or is she still with us?
She went back to LA after the movie was over.
I was staring over at the old lady's face, the scene where like the guy took a big bite out of that pigeon. It was so funny. Lily Rose Depp was actually fantastic. I was sad Anya Taylor-Joy had left the project, but Rose put in her A game. I'd say that her and Skarsgård's performances are like the selling point of the movie. Nicholas Hoult was great as well, though I'm starting to suspect he might be typecast as someone who has sexual tension with Dracula. A lot of people apparently didn't like Aaron Taylor-Johnson. Eggers casted him probably because his name sounded vaguely like Anya Taylor-Joy, so he must have missed her. While definitely not the highlight, I thought he fit this role well. He was the unlikable skeptic. Mr. I don't believe in ghosts must have been the wind. As well, he worked as a stand-in for traditional values which clash with Ellen and stand over Tom.
Grizz, I don't know how to tell you this, but ghosts aren't actually real.
We're gonna die. Ghosts are real. Ghosts are real. Ghosts are real. We're gonna die.
Now on to Willem Dafoe's role. I wouldn't say it's his best performance, as he's achieved much more daring things in his legendary career, but goddamn, every time he was on screen I was so very happy. After watching Ellen have very painful convulsions or Orlok slaughter an entire schoolyard of orphans, it built up some stress, you know? But then Willem would come on screen and play with a cat for a couple minutes, and suddenly everything was right in the world. Then there's School of Hard Knocks, who was like the evil version of Willem Dafoe, where he was really funny every time he was on screen. There's also something a little bit off about him. I can't put my finger on it particularly, but oh well. Most importantly, there's of course Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok. I was skeptical at first. I mean, how could he beat Max Schreck? He cast an actual vampire, so it had to be good. And the only other time they done that was with Tom Cruise. Get it? Because Tom Cruise is a creepy weirdo who drinks child blood to keep himself young? But Billy Boy completely disappeared into the role. If you didn't tell me it was the Pennywise guy, I'd have no idea. Sure, a lot of that's due to the makeup department and the way he's shot, but it's undeniable Bill had an incredibly commanding screen presence, with him hidden in shadow, his booming voice filling the room. Bill and Eggers made a lot of interesting decisions for the character, which actually paid off really well. Even with heavy competition, I'd be already willing to bet that his performance will be iconic from years to come. Because I love gambling. Do you think Count Orlok would have been scarier if he was in an Iron Lung the entire movie? You were just like, come over here.
Like, they still shipped him over to fucking Germany, like the other part.
I just imagine the giant-ass machine, like, going back and forth, rocking on the boat.
Yeah, sliding across.
Yeah, it's like, Interestingly, this turned out not to only be a remake of Nosferatu, but also The Exorcist, where Lily Rose Depp is possessed, forced into horrible body convulsions. And of course, 18th century Europe doesn't know how to handle strange afflictions or mental illnesses. I mean, you got a broad shaking around or like showing emotions, you just gotta hook her up to the electric shock therapy. Bing bada boom, good as new. It sort of evokes body horror, where something can be horribly wrong with you, yet no one can understand why. It helps enhance sympathy and connection towards Ellen, much like Regan and her mother. But instead of being possessed by a ghoul named Pazuzu, it's freaky old man Nosferatu. More than just The Exorcist, the film also remakes another classic film, the Rocky Horror Picture Show, where the standard couple gets tormented by a sexually provocative vampire, both husband and wife seduced and transformed by a taboo mystical sexuality. And in both films there's a lot of musical numbers, and have the same ending where Orlok's castle blasts off into space. Spoilers. There's been a lot of talk about the sexuality in this movie, having Dracula act like a dirty little pervert. This is no surprise for the egg. I love his movies for being rampant with provocative imagery, which makes you uncomfortable and pushes the boundaries a little bit. But honestly, this may be the most accessible of Eggers' movies, which is really saying something. It's pretty straightforward from a story point of view. How Egg portrays the sexuality, though, is a different story. Undertones of sexuality are of course common in the Dracula storyline. However, most films either subdue it due to censorship or make it more traditional for general audiences. While still monstrous, Gary Oldman's version was sometimes delicate, embracing softly at the neck or dressing himself halfway presentable. As well, there are of course the gross English titty vampires who seduce Keanu. Still weird, but not as nearly aggressively gross. Eggers' film has their sexuality come from a decaying old ghoul man with an iDubbbz mustache. Instead of the tender suck of the neck, Orlok gouges at his prey with a large spurt of blood. And with the great goopy sound design, it's all very well done and creepy. But the choice to commit to having Orlok be this horny is both extremely funny and uncomfortable. Bro's got that Gru build. But the true heartthrob of the movie is easily that fucking doctor guy whose name I forgot. So who do you think received it better?
Who got the best? Guck?
Yeah.
Guck?
Yeah,
Yes, Guck, you mean?
Because you know, Holt and, you know, Lily Rose Depp got gucked.
Holt got he got edged. He didn't like get gucked to completion.
Yeah, which I thought was kind of like a loose plot thread throughout the movie.
I think the sequel hints are plenty.
Well, we did not stay for the after credit scene, so there is a chance that we missed, you know, like a hint. Of course, I want to dig into the subtext, but it's kind of hard to deconstruct a film that's still in theaters. Of course, a lot of that depth I've already kind of talked about, like Ellen's contested beliefs or the dated treatment of psychosis. It's important that Orlok preys on Ellen when she's mentally ill, their relationship starting when Ellen was alone and depressed, using that isolation to groom her. Wow, what is this guy, a YouTuber? Engaging in sexuality in a time of repression, ending with her choice to seduce and kill Orlok, instead of the classic stake in the heart. The ending is far more ethereal and provocative. I know my observations are kind of shallow, but there's a lot going on in there.
And then she was like, I bet you couldn't fuck me as good as that vampire. And the guy was like, bet. Day one.
And he didn't? That was
No.
No, do you think he did, or...?
I think NosFREAKtu.
You think he nags? Okay. Maybe they could have had a rematch at the end. You know,
I think, you know how that one Aaron Taylor Flash, and he went back for his wife. He went for his wife. I think maybe the main character was like, hold on, and he fucking, you know, like, you know, lined her up.
No,
like,
I don't know, because you're like...
Hold on, wait a minute, hold on. As everybody was watching, you know. Wait a minute.
Your theory is that main character of the movie, Nicholas Hoult, it's implied, it's subtext, that he munted the dead body of his deceased wife.
The second Willem Dafoe left the room, he like kind of like, you know, like,
was still in the room. He was just distracted with that pussycat. He was playing with it. You know, like...
Hold on, like, you know, like, you know, like soccer players, like they take their two fingers, like they line up a shot. He was like in the corner of the room, like, wait a minute,
right? I think so.
One second.
Hold on.
But here's the twist, right? He was not going into Lily Rose Depp. He was going into Nosferatu.
Yeah, it was. Did you hear that Ghostbuster's ass was supposed to like fucking pour blood out, but it was too funny, so they had to put a cork in it. That's right.
I was about to say, you know what they should have done? They should have done a practical effect where they ran out of money, so they just cut to like an open turkey, just like, just like with like stuffing and butter falling out. Like, of course, no movie's perfect. While overall it's pretty great, I do have some minor gripes with it. For one, there were some moments that almost felt like cheap jump scares, which was pretty surprising to find in a pretentious A24 film. Usually that's what film students jack themselves for not having in these films. They weren't like outright insidious levels or anything, just a bit jarring for one of Eggers' works. Also, in terms of pacing, this movie certainly wasn't breezy. I feel you could maybe trim a bit in the second half, not exactly what you should remove, if anything, so what big fucking help am I? But worst of all, this film hides a secret agenda. No, not in the stupid dumbass quartering way where he cries into his neckbeard because they put a woman in a fucking movie. This is an actual real problem, one that threatens the free world as we know it. Of course, Eggers only directed this because he loves the original, or so the Germans would have you believe. In reality, the German government has paid Eggers 500 rubles to subtly brainwash the public into wearing lederhosen, eating schnitzels, and talking in a funny voice. You may say I have no evidence, but I do. Exhibit A, World War I, and Exhibit B, World War II. Now, I'm not a scientist, but I'm thinking this is more than just a coincidence. Do you think that these, like, you know, German communist bastards are trying to get into our artsy movies, trying to get into our sexy Dracula movies? Is that what
I tried to worm the phrase German expressionist into so many of the Huzz's, like, film school girls' ears. You! And, they think I'm smart. I like little girls!
So yeah, the movie was good. Even if half of it was Lily Rose Depp watching the Porygon episode of Pokemon and Nicholas Hoult waking up in his bed, it was definitely up there for 2024 releases. Mainly because I saw like 3 of them. Listen, I don't got time to watch all that new movies when I'd rather be watching Fred 2, Night of the Living Fred. I can't wait to find out what Eggers is doing next, because there always has to be a next thing. I hope he'll change things up and set a movie in modern day instead of the fucking 19th century for the 5th time. You know, have all the characters talk about TikTok and use their phone. Doesn't that sound great?
How many hawk tours would you give Nosferatu out of 10?
I'd give it like 5 big booms.
You know that Haley Welch's brother was the guy that did Pizzagate? That's real.
I'm just gonna end it there.
Talking to it.
Moving different. This shit ain't nothing to me, man. I'm a dog. I'm biting the fart bubbles in the bath. We smoking symbiotes. Smoking that Whoopi Goldberg South Egyptian Fur Burger Deluxe Mega Million Scratcher Skunk Bubba Kush.